Hey guys, welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page. Make sure you drop a comment, like, subscribe.
Do all the fun things.
Follow
everything. We're here to entertain you guys.
What are you waiting for? Hurry up, let's go.
Enjoy.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. My name is Adam Glyn, joined by my friend on the other side of the country, Dax Holt. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Right for this best of 2022 Hollywood Raw. This has been a big year for us, dude. We have, looking back, actually, and looking at all the interviews that we've had, I was really kind of surprised. Impressed with ourselves that we were able to land these great interviews, have so much cool information come out. I mean, we had a really, really cool year.
Yeah, and we're gonna actually go through some of our best interviews, pretty much of the year. Some of the guests that we came on that really meant something to us because it was just a really fun conversation. You know, most recently we're gonna into someone, Talon's got to come on this list because we just had an interview with Talon from Laguna Beach, and we have a lot more. But Talon was just really interesting. But these are conversations like when we get done with the podcast, me and Dax call each other like, dude, that was really fun. And also something that we take away something from the conversation. So we're going to get to this list. Dax needs to fix his Enrique Iglesias hat over there. And dude, how big was Enrique Iglesias back in the day? Like that one album was huge.
He was the biggest thing on the planet for 2 years, for sure.
For that album, he was making these awesome music videos, and it was just really good. I know he's still a star, but it's crazy. People kind of, you don't hear about him as much as because he was just so big.
No, him and Anna Kournikova, they just kind of got out of the spotlight. You don't even see pap photos of them anymore. Randomly, you'll see a photo of them out on their boat that's cruising around the harbor, but that's it. They don't go in public, which is really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Isn't it weirder that, you wonder what he had with he had to have, and I'm just saying this allegedly, but he had to have some sort of issue with his hair because he always wore a hat. You would say that about anybody. Anybody who wears a hat has an issue with hair, but I feel like with him, it was something he was very self-conscious about himself.
Look at us, two dudes with great hair, and we're both wearing hats. So no.
In the morning, so it's I actually was not gonna wear a hat, but my hair is just too crazy for this episode. But before we get to the top 10, not our top 10, our top episodes.
How about best moments of 2022?
Okay, our best moments of 2022. We actually read your reviews live on air. The only thing you got to do is go to Hollywood Raw Podcast, on iTunes, go all the way to the bottom, say a few kind words, 5 stars, and we'll actually read your reviews live on air. It's their way of just saying hi to you. Dax, do you have some reviews?
I do. All right. This one comes from Boxer Central. 5 stars. Love you guys. Love the Greatest Encounters episode. Listen to every episode. Also follow your recommendations to other podcasts. You are very generous. Hope you get Tori. Thanks. Ann H. from Lubbock, Texas. Thanks, Ann.
Very nice.
It's not looking good for Tori, I gotta say. We're closing out the year. Still no Tori spelling, even though we'll take her. Trust me, we still want her. But
I don't think we can afford her based on what she wants to come on. We didn't get to the money part, but they're like, yeah, we'll come on if you pay us. I'm like, oh, that's where you're at? Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So because we poor, we're not going to be having her on anytime soon. All right. Next one is from JS9628. Thank you. 5 stars. Thank you for having an awesome day after Thanksgiving episode. I needed to get through my morning walk. Cheers to you both. Oh shit. What do we do after Thanksgiving? We just had a wrap up. That's all it was. It was a top 10, but we pulled through and did it. And a lot of people thought we wouldn't do it, and we did it.
Oh yeah, that was right.
All right. Thank you for that. And last one, this one comes from Moonflower722. Gossip from people with industry experience. So happy I discovered you guys and the pod. Really love the dynamic and perspective given. Thank you, Moonflower. Yes, we are 2 people in the industry that, we've been in the industry for a really, really long time. And so, yeah, it is kind of a different perspective than I think a lot of people can give because, a lot of the entertainment podcasts out there, people who just love entertainment, we've worked in it and been immersed in it for so many years. So we can kind of really give our perspective on what it's like to be in the game and kind of reveal that fourth wall for you.
Yeah, we're fans of it, but we're also doing stories. Like, for example, we just broke the story that Dua Lipa and Jack Harlow are dating. That's a big
Whoop
story.
whoop.
Yes, but you can find that, we kind of post about it in our private Facebook group, Off the Record. It's just, you go on Facebook and we got to allow you in. You got to answer a few questions, but it's a really cool group where we sort of talk to you guys talk to each other. It's just kind of like a fun little group where we could all stay in the loop, because there's just so much news going on and the industry's always changing. So it's good for all of us to kind of stay accountable with each other. If we're all going to be really into this business, it's like, okay, let's hold each other accountable and post about random celebrity Hollywood stuff. Okay, now let's get into our top moments of 2022 on the Hollywood Raw podcast. Dax, what's your first one that you want to start off? That it's a favorite moment for you.
So Adam, I'm going to switch it up on you. I was going to go down the list. I'm going to go up the list, because I think some of these older episodes, people that are new to the podcast, they probably don't even know about.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if people know that we had Gilbert Godfrey on before he passed away. Like, we were one of his last episodes, last interviews that he had with a podcast before his passing. And so I want to bring up this Gilbert Godfrey interview. What was interesting is we actually reached out to Gilbert to come on to talk about Bob Saget's death. We were like, this is your buddy. Please come on. Let's give him kind of like that honor of, the moment where we talk about who he was and his acting career and how much he led into comedy. And little did we know that this would be Gilbert's last interview with us. It was a special moment, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you look back like, man, that was kind of... I had a relationship with Gilbert. Gilbert and his wife, like, I became very, close with. And Gilbert was just like the nicest guy. And he came on our podcast, and it was my last conversation I had with him. It's sad. I mean, it's kind of wild that was my last conversation with him. But Gilbert, to me, was always one of those guys, looking back, that he was nice. Like, when the camera's on, he would turn into Gilbert Godfrey. But when the camera's off, he was just like a very shy type person. Awkward, but like fun awkward, but warm, nice, normal, good to people, nice to the fans. But this was, Gilbert's someone who for the last 10 years, and this was my last conversation with him.
And he jumped on, what was it, the day after Bob had passed?
I think she was the morning. I think we found out that
it was so fast. He was just like, yep, coming on.
Yeah, we reached out. I think it was, again, I'm trying to look back because this was a while back. But I think it was like a Monday morning we woke up to Bob Saget passing away. And then we reached out to Gilbert, and Gilbert's like, yeah, I'll come on and tell some Bob Saget stories. And he came on without hesitation. And it was so nice. And it was actually like cool to like talk to Gilbert, like the real Gilbert, like the guy who he was when the cameras are off. Like, he wasn't there trying to be funny. It was just him being Gilbert. And the guy was a comedy historian. He's been around for so long, and he's so well loved by his peers. So it was like just a fun talk with him.
All right, let's listen to what he had to say about Bob Saget. What was his demeanor like when you guys chatted, by the way?
He was the same guy he's always been. He was and it's like he was looking forward to going back on the road. But same guy, always cracking jokes. And like I said, the minute either one of us started talking seriously, we'd come in with a totally bad taste joke to kill that. And,
man, that's sad. Sad looking back now, knowing like what we didn't know at that time.
Yeah, but again, it was really... it just hit me now. Like, man, that was my last conversation with this guy who I've gotten to know for a long time, but I'm still friends with his wife, and she's like in good spirits. But yeah, it's just my last conversation with Gilbert, and he was a friend, he was a bud, he was cool. All right, moving on. Here's a person that came on this podcast and blew me away. Suzanne Summers.
That was such a good interview.
She came on, and like, I had to do some research on her, and she was just so fun. She looks great, by the way. So fun, so cool, so full of energy. And she came on the beginning of the conversation. She was just like, she knew what she was doing. I was like, man, she should be a public speaker, because she just kind of went on a rant. I was like, oh, she said this like speech for a while, but then we just started talking, and I mean, we got into the Thigh Master, which she was like the infomercial queen, and she developed this Thigh Master, which, you know, if you're an 80s, 90s kid, I mean, you saw all the time this Thigh Master. It was this very kind of plain product where it just bent in half. It was just like it was almost like a scissor type thing that kind of bent. And she revealed to us how much money she made on this. And she also talked about like her sex life at her old age. Like she's like, yeah, me and my husband, like, you know, we're still going away. And I mean, lucky him, because she's just fun. She's cool.
She was so good. She definitely surprised me. I did not know what kind of interview we would get. You know, diving deep into why she was fired from Three's Company, the, you know, just difference between how men were paid back then versus how women were paid that has extended up until this point, and how she was really fighting for that. I mean, just a fan-fucking-tastic interview. What I do want to let's listen to her talking about how, like, we're questioning her about how much she's made off Thigh Master, and this quote right here got picked up by everyone. Everyone loved the fact that we got out how much she's made off the Thigh Master. So let's listen to that part. It's my favorite.
How much do you think the Thigh Master alone, though? Because you have so many businesses, but how much do you think the Thigh Master alone has put into your pocket over the last, 30 years?
Well, I grew up poor, and I live a good life. And can you answer that question, Ellen? He wants to know how much money we've made.
I'm just on the Thigh Master, not on everything. No, I don't want to know everything. I'm just curious on that one product because it is so famous and so popular.
Well, it's 1995 times 10 million. So kind of do the math, you know, and we're probably at 15 million now.
Wow.
I know. All because of a pair of Manolo Blahnik shoes.
And do you own that outright? Like
outright,
the patent, everything?
We had partners 50-50, and they got drunk on money when it all started selling, and they overspent to the point where they could no longer afford to be in their side of the business. So we bought them out. We have 100%.
You know how much 1995 times 15 million is?
I don't. Did you just do it?
I just did it. It's a lot of zeros. It's 299,250,000.
Yeah, but I spent a lot.
Almost $300 million off of that machine. Unbelievable. And it's like such a silly little like piece of metal wrapped in foam. Like, it probably cost, I don't know, like 10 cents to make. Yeah. And she made almost $300 million off of it.
People still buy it today. I think it's one of those things where, as an entrepreneur, you know, entrepreneur is like the hot term you see on Instagram, TikTok, everyone's an entrepreneur. But I don't think we put Suzanne Summers in that conversation more, that she's just such a successful business person. She made smart moves and she did very well. You know, she's very influential in a way. Also, looking back, it's just like, here's a conversation with a woman who's a little bit older, still looks great, but she was so honest and so cool about it and made me a fan. Even, I mean, not like I wasn't a fan before, but now I'm like, man, she's awesome. And she just won a lot of people over. All right, Dax, what do you think? Right. You have someone else?
I got to throw one name into the hat, which was, again, another very surprising interview for us. I didn't know what I was going to get from this guy, but Drake Bell. Drake Bell came onto our podcast, and this was like immediately after Josh Peck's interview with Barstool. And Josh kind of like just talked a lot of crap on Drake Bell and their friendship and what went south and all kinds of stuff. And Drake came on to kind of share his perspective of their friendship and how he felt like it fell apart, and basically said everything that Josh said on that interview with Barstool was not accurate. And again, great interview. And that interview was one of our top interviews for the year, just because I think how honest and open he was.
Yeah, it was right off that Josh Peck talked about him, and there was no, like, we could ask him about anything, and he was very open about it. And I also,
he said there's no no rules, right?
Yeah.
If
So
I
there's
remember
no
correctly, he
rules.
said like, "There's nothing off limits. You can ask me anything." And we're like, "Anything?" He said, "Yep."
Yeah, so he kind of went in on this stuff, and he was cool. He was nice, and it was just kind of cool to kind of look back at Dax and I. Me and you, we both covered him for so long. We covered this whole situation, and then when it's like we kind of go back and just kind of talk about from both sides, like from our point of view to his point of view, it's just a very good kind of conversation. Let's check it out.
Well, let's get into this Josh Peck interview he did with BFFs. Obviously he said a lot of stuff. I want to hear from you, because to me it sounded like Josh had a lot of animosity, and it seems like he had pent-up aggression about this whole wedding event, and you texting him and saying that I wasn't invited. Was that everything he said? Was that
Actually,
an accurate depiction of what happened?
Actually, Drake, before you even begin, this is what Josh, according to Josh, he claims that you went to social creating chaos and did a press tour on how heartbroken you were about not being invited to his wedding. He said you created a narrative that was that wasn't true. According to Josh, a month later, you guys ran into each other at the VMAs, and he made a beeline to you and said, he went up to you, Josh Peck went to you and said, "Go apologize to my wife." Is this story true?
It's interesting because, first off, I never texted him cursing him out the night of his wedding, because I didn't know that there was a wedding until he posted about it the next day, and that's when I got bummed, and I didn't even realize that it was now is that I did grandfathered right before his wedding.
Was grandfather? Is that something?
That
was his TV show that he did with John Stamos.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Which is funny. I auditioned for, by the way. So when Josh got it, I was like, "Oh, no way, rad."
We were like,
yeah. So
you actually did see him, because he made it sound like you guys hadn't seen each other in like 10 years since you wrapped the show. So you're saying no, that's not true. You guys did see each other pretty recently?
All the time.
he's been over here multiple times. We only have lived here in the last 6 years.
Yeah, but no. We've hung out a lot. But obviously, we have had ups and downs and times where we spend a lot of time together, and then times where we don't see each other for a long time. But not this whole we didn't see each other. And he says that I went on a Twitter rant and I started tweeting all these tweets. It was one tweet.
So there you go. He is basically claiming that Josh Peck lied about the whole wedding situation, that he never cursed him out, that he didn't even know about the wedding until the day it happened. So all those stories you saw out there, according to Drake, were false. But okay, let's move on.
This person on the podcast was someone who we wanted, when we first said we wanted to do the podcast, for some reason I don't want to talk to this guy. Not because you're obsessed with him. It's because it's someone who I just thought could be interesting. And it's only interesting because, we did a concert a year and a half ago now with the band O-Town. And they didn't have the best things to say about Ashley Parker Angel. Now, Ashley Parker Angel is not with the group anymore, but we just wanted to hear from his side because the band, I feel like some of the guys had some good things to say about him and the other guys didn't. And I just want to hear his point of view. And you see him on social media where he takes these random photos of his body where it's just like, dude, what are you doing with this? So it was just good to kind of have this conversation. And I have to say, let's play the clip and then we're going to talk about this.
Well, which clip do you want to play? Because we got a lot from Ashley Parker Angel. Do you want to talk him talking about
why they
the beef?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And keep in mind, he has never talked about this before in any interview. Somehow we were able to get the interview of Ashley Parker Angel talking about the breakup from O-Town for the very first time. And here it is.
We did ask the guys, because we had the opportunity to talk to them at Sweet Stock, if they thought you regretted leaving the band or, if you'd ever want to come back. And I want to hear what your answer is first, and then I'm going to play you what they said.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, I think my feeling was that everybody got exactly what they wanted. And it was really positive at the time in terms of they they reached out to me, of course, and that's the right thing to do. Hey, we're going to get back together as O-Town. You know, where are you at with all of this? And a dream of mine was also to do musical theater on Broadway. In fact, before I even fell backwards into a singing career, I thought that's where I was going to go. I thought I was going to go straight to musical theater and Broadway. And so I just explained that. And they were, and, you know, they understood, but I would tell you since then, things have transpired where, you know, there have been some absolutely vicious attacks publicly against my character as a person. And with this one member of the band who has not taken it well and has decided to also be pretty nasty at times. And I never went there. Like for me, again, sometimes when you're in a band, there's the PR face that you put on. Yeah, we're all brothers. This is fun. This is exciting. You know, but then from behind the scenes, if you've ever you talk to bands, you talk to groups, there's a lot of inner drama between band members a lot of the time. And I always tried to take the high road from that and in fact, I've never talked about it publicly. This is the first time I've ever talked about it. And there were some really vicious attacks on the internet, attacking my character. And fans were reaching out going like, what's going on? Like, what is this all about? And I won't even get into what it was about. It was a lot of personal stuff that was going on in my family at the time. And so, I mean, to answer your question, like, I always wanted to celebrate that part of my past in a very fun way. But I wouldn't say I regretted my decision because I felt like, you know, I got a chance to play my dream role on Broadway. But for me, life is long. I think in big picture. I'm thinking next several years, you know, next 5 years, 10 years, you think of a band, you think of the Saved by the Bell reunion. How many years ago was that? And now they're all back together celebrating it. So I thought it would be fun to just keep it open. You know, hey, maybe this will happen someday and maybe it will be awesome. But I don't regret the decision I made at the time.
Now, Dax, you don't have to pick a side, but if you have to pick a side, whose side are you on right now? Are you on the O-Town side with the guys who are against Ashley, or are you on Ashley's side saying, hey, this is...
It wasn't all the guys. It wasn't all the guys. It was
guys.
really kind of one of the guys, I think. And I think it was Eric that didn't really love Ashley. But here's the thing. After doing the interview with O-Town and doing the interview with Ashley Parker Angel, I kind of love all of them. They have been some of the coolest, most down-to-earth dudes we have talked to. I think they genuinely enjoy, you know, the fame and performing in front of people and their fans. I really like all of them. So it's hard to choose. I don't want to choose a side. I like all of them.
Yeah, I will say this. After talking to Ashley, like, I understood his side. He's like, I did it. Now I'm trying to move on. You know, he's in a different part of his life. He's in, you know, he's doing something different. He's not really in the music industry per se anymore. So I get it. Like, he doesn't want to go back to that chapter. With that said, I feel like he still has like love for those guys. And like, I think he was open to like, hey, I'll do like a show with you guys, but I don't really want to kind of keep going around. Like, my interests are somewhere else
just
now.
Different.
So
I want to add in one more clip that I thought was pretty funny. Was you asking him the meaning of Liquid Dream, which was that really famous song that everyone was like, wow, this is the creepiest, like, I don't know, sexually infused song ever, but like they never talked about the actual meaning of it, and Ashley did for us. So here that one is.
What the fuck is a liquid dream?
Woo! The question of all time. What is a liquid dream?
I mean, instantly my mind goes to a wet dream, but I don't know if that's actually intended or if it was just put out there for that reason.
I'm gonna give the answer. I'm gonna reveal it on my Instagram when I launch OnlyFans. I'm gonna give the of what liquid dream thing. No, you know, you want the PR answer was, it's the perfect girl that can morph like liquid into Janet Jackson and Britney Spears, and she's the perfect combination of all those things. That was the PR answer. And then you look at the lyrics and you read it and you think, we're singing this song to like 13-year-old kids. I always say like Liquid Dreams was the original Wet Ass Pussy. I
Yeah.
think
Oh.
I think Liquid Dreams was the original WAP. The line has been pushed even further now, but it's kind of crazy to think about the fact that we were singing Liquid Dreams. I mean, I think people obviously know what it's about, right? Like, and we're singing this like pop song about Liquid Dreams to these young kids. It was awkward even at the time we were in it because it was meant to be provocative, of course. So
There you go. It is a full wet dream, is what I got out of that.
I get it. Fun song. In fact, it's funny when you have 10-year-old kids singing that song and they have no idea what they're talking about. Is that a weird clip?
It is a weird clip, but let's go with it.
Okay, so I was like, wait, what am I talking about? Yeah, but it's a fun conversation. Ashley Parker Angel. Now, I just want to go into one other person next because I know I just talked about Ashley Parker Angel. I want to bring up Kyle Cook from Summer House.
You love Summer House.
I love
you
Summer
guys.
House.
You should have seen how excited Adam was behind the scenes when Kyle said, "Yes, I'll come on." Like Adam was like a giddy little schoolgirl texting me, "Oh, we got Kyle," and I'm like, "Cool, bro."
It's not about New York. I obsess about the show. I think it's so. I love the real world. So this show is so. It's not the real world, but it's the closest thing I have to the real world. And Kyle's one of those guys who I kind of trolled on social media for the longest time. And then finally, I was begging him. I was like, dude, you got to come on the podcast. Everyone knows I troll you. You got to come on the podcast. And he actually came on the podcast. I think he did it from like Europe too. Like he was in,
Yep.
he was like in like Denmark
Where
at the
was
time. I don't know.
Yeah,
where
he was somewhere. Yeah, I can't remember where he was, but yeah, he was somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, he was somewhere in Europe and came on the podcast. And I got to fanboy and ask all my favorite questions, like everything that I was curious about this guy. Everything I was like, I wanted to ask a Summer House castmate from everything. Yeah.
No, I was going to just say that the thing that I found the most interesting, again, I don't watch Summer House, so I was more of a spectator watching Adam school fangirl off of Kyle, but I did like the questions about him and Amanda's wedding. And like, I thought for sure Bravo would have paid some amount to them to publicize and televise their wedding. And he said that no, that Bravo didn't give us a single dollar for our wedding. So I want to play that clip for everyone because I thought that was one of the most interesting things in that episode. So then she says yes, and then I got to imagine Bravo's like, yes, cha-ching. Do they help pay for a wedding? Because this, I mean, two of their stars are getting together. Like, is this something they go, we'll chip in on?
I mean, look, I would love to say yes, but I mean, maybe I should have just negotiated it harder, but we also wanted to have control. Like the second Bravo's paying for your wedding, guess what? It's a Bravo production. So we were adamant that, look, we will give you access. We will let you film, but you need to be flies on the wall. And really the only way to guarantee that was we covered every single penny. We didn't get a single dollar from Bravo. In fact, it probably cost us more money to do the damn thing because just of some of the challenges.
All right. I don't know. I love that. I just thought it was really, really fascinating.
Yeah, and there's one other part too I want to bring up. He had a very public feud with Hannah Berner.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah's now a podcast, but she was on Summer House. She's a podcaster now, but she was on Summer House for a while.
And she has been a guest on our show too.
Yeah, she's been a guest on our show, and they just don't get along. They're very publicly bashing heads. So I wanted to ask him, like, basically, do you still, you're in New York City, you're both there, you kind of both run in the same circles. Do you ever still run into Hannah? Do you ever run into Hannah still?
I'm not, like, literally never bumped into her.
Never bumped into her. Is there? She wasn't at your wedding, correct?
No.
No. So is it awkward? Like, Amanda have any relationship with her?
No. I mean, look, it's unfortunate. Like, when someone, look, I actually ended the summer, where I thought we were actually in a good place, season 5, when the cameras went down. And, she had, a tough summer. And I think she was, when things started to air, that's when things started to spiral. And I think she thought we were all like plotting against her. I mean, she went on like dozens of podcasts and said just that we were like, there was like this group mentality and we were all up against it. I'm like, Hannah, we were all dealing with our own lives, our own sources of stress. Like, she just got in her own head, and it's kind of unfortunate. I really liked Hannah, but like things went to a very dark place.
All right. Kyle was great. Big thanks to him for coming on, mostly to, let you experience your man crush in person. All right. I want to get to someone who we had on a little more recently, someone that also blew my mind with how they don't care anymore, and they love just talking and not worried about MTV coming after them or repercussions, or just here's the truth, here's how it is. And that was Talon We had him a couple weeks back, and what a phenomenal guest, what a phenomenal interview. I loved how he just spoke about everything without censoring himself, and that makes for the best podcast guest you could possibly ask for. But him getting into how much MTV paid them back in the day, which could be something that I feel like is almost embarrassing for people to talk about. Like, I don't want to say how much I made. And he just said it out there and said, look, and I feel like they used us. They used us and took advantage of us, I think was his actual terminology. But let's get into how much MTV paid Talon.
Did MTV pay well?
No, not at all. I mean, like most reality shows, it was like, I think the first season we got $2,500
for each episode, or for the wait, 2,500 each episode for the season?
No, are you serious?
I think the second season I made like $8,000.
What?
Dude, in high school, I thought I was king of the fucking world. Like, I thought I had hit the jackpot. Now, obviously, looking back, I feel like, oh my God, we were so taken advantage of. But like, we straight up thought we were kings of the world. Like, I would show up at a high school party with a keg and I thought I was the man. And I was like, I could never run out of money. But yeah, dude, like they completely just took advantage. I think things like that, when I look back, make me a little disappointed with the production. That we're kids, and that like, most day rates are what, like $1,000 or something. I don't even know what the day rates are for SAG anymore. But like,
yeah,
you kind of have to like, I feel like I personally, if I was a producer or a network of a show, it would be hard for me not to incentivize these kids. Even if I paid them after the show came out and it was successful, like I would have a hard time with myself knowing that I paid these kids $2,500.
$2,500 is nothing for MTV. Not only that, for season 2 to be $8,000, that's crazy. I loved it. This is such a good interview.
I mean, they're probably just like, yeah, these are rich kids. They really don't need the money.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of this episode?
Well, there was 2 parts. The one was just, and I pretty much knew it. I just wanted to make sure. Like, they would have these parties, and there's all cups. But you're in high school, you kind of dabble a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are you actually drinking, or are you just drinking out of red cups? And he talks about, and listen, there's nothing. Is it illegal? Yes. Do people?
There's nothing. Yes, there is something wrong, Adam.
Yeah, but listen, they're kids in high school and they're living their life, and I understand that, as long as they're doing it the safest way possible, I guess.
I think it was more shocking that MTV literally just turned a blind eye on him. Sure. But whatever. I mean, I'm not surprised by the comments. Here's Talon talking about it.
I think what's funny looking back is like, dude, when we're using red Solo cups on that show, like we're drinking alcohol. Like high school kids drink alcohol. But like, unfortunately, most of my parties were on television, and I was like, I'm not going to let you guys ruin my good time. Right. So I would still, we would all drink from those red Solo cups, as you saw. So technically, like, that's super legal, right? Like showing underage kids on national television.
Yeah. So how does that? So going back to that though, does MTV say something to you guys like, "Hey, listen, like we really can't." Like, how does that? How do they do that?
They had. I mean, legally, they get in a lot of trouble, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was never supplied. It wasn't like, like most reality shows, they supply shitloads of alcohol so these people get fucked up and do dumb shit. Like, it was never supplied. They would get super busted. It was, I mean, in all honesty, like we would save up our money and go buy it at like the local liquor store with like our one buddy who had like a mustache would like buy it with his you know what I mean? And like we thought we were kings of the world, like with like Mickey's malt 40s or whatever it was. But you know, they had to, like, you know, they have to turn a blind eye. Do I think they probably knew we were drinking? I mean, they were in high school too at one point, but they didn't like go around and check our freaking drinks or sniff them or like, you know, you get what I'm saying? Like there was never any sort of like check.
Dude, he was great. And for anyone who wouldn't know, but basically as we were, you know, talking with Talon that day, Adam and I were literally texting each other being like, oh my God, this episode is so good. Oh my God, this episode is so good. That's how much we enjoyed this talk with Talon. All right, let's move on to someone.
Well, before we say this, you know, the cool part is when the cameras went off, you know, we were talking to Talon. I thought it was really just nice, and he really enjoyed the conversation. I think he's at a point in his life where he's able to look back and be like, man, that was cool. Because he never talks about stuff like this, you know, and it's only recent that he kind of really addressed this time in his life. And he looked back and was like, you know what, I was kind of embarrassed by it, but now I'm like, you know what, I did do some cool things. So it was just a fun conversation.
It was really fun. All right, I want to move on to someone who was more fun than I could have ever imagined, and that was Kato Kaelin. Kato Kaelin came on like a ball full of energy. You know, I didn't know Kato more than like the O.J. Simpson trial guy. Like I'd never talked to him. I'd never had really I'd never had any interaction with him. And he came on and he was just so fun and like wild and enthusiastic. And you could tell he like was excited to be on the podcast. But once we dove in, there were so many more layers to him that I didn't know about. And that's what I liked about this interview. My favorite moment was when we talked about him still owning the key to the guest house at O.J. Simpson's. For me, this was a huge story. And a lot of websites did pick it up just because this is a piece of history. He has it like in a safety deposit box labeled the key. But I didn't know that. I had never seen any stories about it. I don't think he realized that he hadn't really told anyone about it. But here's Kato kind of revealing that moment to us.
I still have the guest house key, and we're going to auction that off. Guys?
Oh, that is so cool. I mean,
I have,
not cool, but cool. And
key.
it's like a weird piece of memorabilia.
Yeah, exactly. I've had this house guest key. I offered it to Larry King, and Larry didn't want it. The late Larry King, who was great.
Okay, so Kato, where is the key to OJ's guest house right this moment? Where do you have it?
I already told people where I live. I should say I have a safety deposit box.
In a safety deposit box
at a bank.
And is it labeled like OJ's guest house key?
Well, I put the label on. It's just the key. But yeah, it's the key. You know, and I also thought a good idea, Adam. And Dax says, you know, why not make some copies too?
Right.
I think you know, I'm on that I've got that key app where I can get a key made at any Lowe's and Home Depot. So there's different ways to go to do it. That's it. I even think that maybe even my house key where I live now, that might go for more or less.
I loved him. And since then, we've been a guest on his podcast. I mean, he's a fun dude.
Yeah. Fun, cool. He's a legend just because the story was so legendary. I mean, I'm still obsessed with the O.J. Simpson's trial. So it's just cool to have a conversation with someone who's just in the thick of it during that. I mean, he became a star during it, and now he's become a character from it.
Question, would you say because it came from a trial, do you say Kato is famous or Kato is infamous because it was associated with a trial?
That's, yeah. Here's what I would say. I would say Kato is someone who, like, was one of the most well-likable people, and that's why he was so well-connected. I mean, people loved Kato. I mean, he talked about Kris Jenner in this interview, and he talked about his relationship with like running into Kris Jenner and like how it was. Like it's just he was one of those guys who's in the Hollywood circle, and he became like the friend to stars. Like they just loved having him around. So I think that was just kind of fun to hear that. All right, now we're going to a part of the podcast that is sort of like the thick of it. You know, we have our podcast. We have a lot of celebrities on. We also have a lot of people that are in the business, but we have the people that are somewhat the backbone of the Hollywood industry. Those are the paparazzi, the journalists, street journalists, the paparazzi,
street journalists,
videographers of
field producers of Hollywood. And these guys have the best stories. We're the only podcast that actually gives these guys a microphone, let these guys talk because, you know, these are the real reporters. They're the ones on the ground floor when stuff goes down. So, you know, once a month or so, we have one of these guys on to tell some of their stories. And we had some guys on that told amazing stories. Like we had this guy, Bobby Rajput, on recently, who he is the king of the setup shots. He's the one who's been doing setup shots for a while, and kind of his industry changed where he was a paparazzi, but now he's the guy where the celebrities call to, hey, get me walking out of Dwayne Reed showing off coconut water, you know, have me showing off my fashion. So it's good to hear Bobby talk about, you know, what photos he did that pulled in over $100,000. I love this. This was such a fascinating look of what photos he's gotten over his career that have pulled in six figures. All right, let's listen to him talk about it.
I've got 3 pictures that were six-figure pictures. One of them was, I was a staff photographer at the time, and I was sent to Oregon, and an English soccer player, a certain English soccer player was there, and he was kind of notorious for liking to be with strippers and you know, those type of girls.
Okay.
And, although he was married, and he was at a point where...
Wait, did this photo, these photos not ever come out? Is that why you're not talking about him?
Yeah.
Oh! Gotcha. Okay. All right, Bobby, what were the other 2 photos that hit over 6 figures?
The Harry and Meghan actually did.
Really?
It was during lockdown. There was nothing going on anywhere else in the world, and this, you know, the English press is absolutely obsessed with them. The third photo is Ben and Jen back together for the first time.
Wow. So
And
how does that
where
even
was,
shot?
was that the one where is that his house or her house in LA or something?
It was a really crappy, dark, shit set of pictures, to be quite honest. But it was the first time they held hands and walked into a hotel for a dinner.
Dude, Bobby was great, but not to be outdone by another friend of ours, a friend of the show, Jesse Rowe, who is a field producer for TMZ for many, many years. And he had this fascinating firsthand account of watching Amber Heard come out of court the day that she had that bruise on her face. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation over whether or not the bruise was real, whether it was faked, whether any of that. But listening to someone who was actually standing there, who was seeing it firsthand, who knew all the inside details about how they found out she was going to be there, all of it came from Jesse Rowe. So I want to listen to him talk about Amber Heard because I loved it.
Yeah, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp was probably one of the biggest court cases of the year. So let's hear it from Jesse.
He basically instructed a field reporter or a field producer and a guy with a camera, which was you, to be outside the courthouse for when Amber Heard exited. Correct?
Yes, that is definitely correct, and it goes deeper than that. But he.
So you tell me from your perspective what that day was like, that you were called and said Amber Heard is going to be at the courthouse. What went down? Give me the whole rundown of the day.
So yeah, I was sent to the courthouse, and there was, I think it was probably noon, because I think she filed her TRO in the early afternoon, like when court opened up at like 1 p.m. but I had to get there at like noon. So I was waiting around for, a few hours. And, media starts showing up. I was one of the early ones there, and media starts showing up, and it goes, I assumed that nobody knew that she was there. But then all of a sudden, CNN and Fox News and NBC and all these organizations, and then all the paparazzi agencies start showing up.
So
and
literally everyone had gotten wind of it for somehow or at some point.
40 people, like 40 to 50 news reporters. You could probably see it in the video from that day. Maybe 30. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but around there, 30 to 40. And everybody knew to stand at a certain spot outside the door because it was clear that it was circulating that there was a bruise on the right side of Amber's face. And so in my video, and I'm standing on the right side because I don't want to miss it. But it was chaos. I was getting pushed around by media because they were so adamant about getting the shot of the right side of her face.
But everyone knew this.
It just generally seemed, I can't say yet one way or the other whether everybody knew that she was going to have a bruise, but it was like everybody wanted to stand on the right side. And she walks out, and the cameras are all sort of, after they're standing on the right, they sort of circle around her a little bit, and she stops and kind of starts like doing a 180 a little bit, just so everybody can see it. And I personally didn't.
Do you think Amber knew everyone was outside the courthouse before she exited the courthouse?
Yes, I think that she was aware.
All right, so there is no way that we are going to be able to finish our best of in one episode. I'm realizing that now. There's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7, 8 more people that I want to talk about before this episode is over. So we are going to have to split this into 2. I am sorry. What we'll do is we'll just pick this up for our next episode and keep going down the list. We'll just have a best of 2022 part 2 because there's going back and looking through this year again. So many good things that I feel like we'd be doing our audience a disservice by ending it now just because we're out of time. So let's make a part 2, and we'll post that here in a couple days. How's that sound, Adam?
Sounds good to me. Yeah, let's do it.
So let's wrap it up, and then we'll do another one. So guys, if you this is not the first time you've been on the podcast, please follow us on social media. You can find myself and Adam. I'm at Dax Holt. Adam's at Adam Glyn. You can follow the podcast at The Hollywood Raw. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're on everywhere. And we have our private Facebook group, which is called Off the Record on Facebook, which is honestly one of the best places to connect with us. That we are on there. We're reading your comments. We're answering your questions. We're breaking news. We're watching you guys interact with each other and really become a community. So please come join us. That should be your New Year's resolution, to come join the Off the Record podcast. Off the Record Facebook group. And then please head on over to iTunes, find The Hollywood Raw, scroll down to the bottom, leave us a 5-star review. You know that is the best thing you can do for us. We love you for it. We love reading these for you guys and giving you little shout outs. So please go do that. And we'll see you in a couple days with the part 2 of the best of 2022. All right. Thank y'all. Bye.
See ya.
What's up, guys? If you liked that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on. Let's go.